I've taken my bows and my curtain calls. You brought me fame and fortune and everything that goes with it. I thank you all. It's been no bed of roses. It's been no pleasure cruise. I consider it a challenge before the whole human race, and I never lose. We are the champions, my friends, and we'll keep on fighting to the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions of the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another exciting episode of the Unrelenting Alchemist, all spiritual, all the time. And so I want to go today into a complex spiritual and psychological battle that went on between Arjuna and Karna. This was a battle of blood, brotherhood, and the burden of dharma. As the chariot wheels of destiny creaked across the dust-blown plains of Kurukshetra, where blood and dharma mingled like rivers converging in a violent tide, the sky had grown dark, not from the clouds, but from the weight of karma accumulated across generations, and standing on opposite ends of the battlefield were two sons of the same divine father, unaware of their fraternal bond until fate had spun its cruelest irony. One was the peerless archer Arjuna, bearer of Gandiva, champion of Dharma, and the other Karna, son-born, the indomitable, the cursed and beloved child of fate. It was a battle not of strangers, but of kindred spirits forged by opposing fires. This began with the origins of a fractured soul. Arjuna had grown up in the opulence of Hastinapura, yet his life was anything but simple. Born to Kunti and blessed by the divine Indra, he was raised among brothers as one of the Pandavas, sworn to justice and righteousness, but within him lived a quiet unrest. It had started in his youth, and when he watched his cousin Duryodhana, arrogant and vengeful, mock and manipulate the Hall of Kings, when Draupadi was humiliated in the court, and when no warrior, no father, no elder rose to defend her honor, something in Arjuna shattered. He saw not the infected dharma when cowardice disguised itself as diplomacy. Arjuna's anger had always been internalized, transformed into rigorous training, relentless archery, and divine devotion. Still, he carried trauma in the form of doubt. Would he ever be enough? Was his destiny truly his own? Or was he a pawn of the gods? Unbeknownst to him, his greatest adversary bore the same doubts and the same blood. There was Karna, the abandoned flame. Karna was born with a celestial armor and earrings, divine gifts from Surya, the sun god, but he was cast into the river by his mother Kunti, who feared the shame of an unwed birth. He was raised by a humble charioteer, Adhiratha, and his wife Radha, who gave him love but could not erase the questions that gnawed at his soul. Where did he come from? Why did society shun him? Denied the right to compete among princes, Karna fought tooth and nail for recognition. Dronacharya would not accept him. Bhisma turned his face away. Even Draupadi refused him in her Swayamvara, calling him a Sutaputra, unworthy of her hand. It was Duryodhana, shrewd and strategic, who saw in Karna a weapon and an ally. He crowned him king of Anga, and for the first time in his life, Karna had status, dignity, and purpose. Out of loyalty, out of gratitude, Karna became Duryodhana's closest friend and fiercest warrior, even if it meant siding with our dharma. But in truth, Karna's fight was never with Arjuna alone. It was with a society that had denied him his birthright, a mother who had thrown him away, and a destiny that seemed scripted by injustice. These were brothers of opposing karmas. When Krishna, ever the keeper of cosmic order, revealed to Karna his true heritage before the war, "You are the eldest son of Kunti," a silence deeper than death passed between them. Karna did not waver. He would fight, even if it meant killing his own brother. "A mother is not the one who births," he said, "but the one who raises." His loyalty to Duryodhana was unbreakable. Yet when Kunti herself approached him, begging him to switch sides, his heart trembled. He promised her he would not kill any Pandava except Arjuna. That was a duel fated from the beginning. That was a duel that would shake the heavens. And so it came to be that Arjuna and Karna, sons of Kunti and students of the celestial arms, would meet on the 13th day of Mahabharata in the war and the clash among yugas. This was a battle of titans. It was not just a war of arrows, but of identities. As Karna stood on his chariot, glistening in golden armor, he drew back his own bow, Vijaya, a gift from Parashurama, and his eyes were not just on Arjuna, they were on a lifetime of betrayal. As Arjuna mounted Krishna's chariot, Gandiva in hand, his gaze locked on Karna's, not with hatred, but with a profound sorrow he could not yet name. They fought like twin flames from the same eternal fire. Every arrow Karna loosed was met with equal force by Arjuna. The gods watched with bated breath. Celestials paused their music. Even time seemed to slow. The battlefield was littered with the bones of warriors, but Arjuna's mind wandered. Was he doing the will of Dharma, or was he caught in the gods' cruel play, destined to strike down a man who could have been his dearest elder brother? Arjuna remembered his exile, his shame, his moments of spiritual despair. He had fought demons, kings, and even gods. But this was altogether different. Karna too faltered. For a brief moment he saw himself beside Arjuna, not as an enemy, but as an ally. What if he had been raised in the palace? What if he had been given his rightful place among the Pandavas? What if Draupadi had not humiliated him? But there was no time for regret. The war allowed no luxury of imagination. And so the curse unfolded. As the battle wore on, Karna's chariot wheel sank into the cursed soil of Kurukshetra. The weight of past sins, his insult to Draupadi, his participation in the unjust game of dice seemed to pull him down. He descended from the chariot to lift the wheel. Pause, he said to Arjuna, let me raise my wheel. And Arjuna paused, if only for a moment. Krishna, who had seen the past, the future, and all the dimensions of karma, whispered, now strike. Arjuna's hands trembled, but he is unarmed. He was not merciful when Draupadi begged, said Krishna. He showed no hesitation when Abhimanyu was trapped. This is a war of Dharma, and Dharma demands the end of Karna. With a heavy heart, Arjuna loosed the arrow. It struck Karna through the heart. Karna's face turned skyward as if to ask Surya, his father, for light one last time. Blood poured from his chest, but in his eyes there was peace. Perhaps he was finally free. This was the grief of victory. The earth shook, the thunder cracked, even Duryodhana wept, not just for his friend, but for the death of the only man who could have changed the war. Later, when the Pandavas learned the truth of Karna's birth, silence spread like a fog. Kunti wept, not as a queen, but as a mother who had sacrificed her son to time and fate. Arjuna, who had won the duel, felt no triumph. He sat alone in his tent, not polishing Gandiva, but remembering the man he had slain, the man who was his brother. The chariots of victory rolled on, but in Arjuna's heart the wheel had stuck. Beyond death, Karna's true ascension took place. His body was fallen, but his soul ascended, not to hell, as some might have thought, not to Pantala, despite his alliances, but to the sun. It is said that Surya himself welcomed his son with open arms, and Karna, unburdened by rage and grief, rose like the light from a furnace. For his sacrifices, for his loyalty, for his immense strength of character, Karna was granted peace. In contrast, Arjuna continued his earthly burdens. He lived to see more battles, more sorrow, more moral wounds that would never quite fully heal. Dharma is never clean. It is jagged, it is painful, and it is sometimes contradictory. And this is the mirror of the warrior, because Karna and Arjuna were mirrors of one another. Karna was what Arjuna might have become without royal privilege, fierce, unrelenting, desperate for respect. Arjuna was what Karna might have become with love, education, and divine sanction. Their duel was not about who was stronger, it was about the duality within every human soul. Pride versus humility, wrath versus surrender, fate versus free will. Arjuna did not defeat Karna, nor did Karna truly lose to Arjuna. They completed each other's karma. They danced the dance of cosmic rebalancing, where even the gods must close their eyes. the legacy of their battle. Even today, this story is told time and time again, not to glorify violence, but to showcase the deep philosophical torment of dharma in conflict with emotion. Arjuna teaches us that being right does not always feel victorious. Karna teaches us that being wrong does not make you evil. One fought with divine protection, the other fought with divine courage. Both were victims of a larger design, children of prophecy, pawns of fate, warriors of the eternal soul. In the end, it is said that in Vaikuntha, where all souls merge into the divine, Karna and Arjuna walk side by side, their weapons laid down, their rivalry dissolved in the peace of higher understanding. For their struggle was not for land or glory, it was for justice, for identity, and for the redemption of a world that often confuses appearance for truth. And through this all, my collective, you are blessed, and you are chosen, and you have a destiny, and you are powerful. And you walk forward knowing that the forces of destiny are behind you. The spirit guides are with you. The ascended masters and the ancestors and the angels are by your side. Thank you for joining me in the Sacred Hour. This has been another exciting episode of the Unrelenting Alchemist. Until that next time, I ask you to walk wisely, walk bravely, and when the dark calls, answer not with fear, but with fire and light. Take care. And if I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love you.